Something is off in the NASCAR garage right now, and nobody wants to say it out loud. You can feel it in the silence after the races, in the radio chatter that cuts off too fast, in the way people avoid answering one simple question. What is really happening with Kyle Busch? Because here's the thing, this isn't just a rough patch anymore. This feels different, heavier, like something inside one of NASCAR's greatest careers is slowly cracking in real time. And the longer you look at it, the harder it is to ignore. And it doesn't stop there. There's another layer to this story, one that connects performance, pressure, and a future that suddenly looks completely uncertain. Teams are watching, drivers are watching, and quietly, everyone is asking the same thing. Is this the turning point nobody saw coming? Now think about this. Kyle Busch, two-time Cup Series champion, a driver who once made winning feel routine, a man who didn't just beat the field, he broke it. Records in Xfinity, dominance in trucks, Cup Series wins that stacked up like they would never stop. For years, he was the standard. Then came the shift. Leaving Joe Gibbs Racing after 15 years wasn't just a move. It was a reset of an entire era. Richard Childress Racing looked like the next chapter, maybe even the revival. And at first, it absolutely was. Early wins, immediate speed, that familiar aggression back in victory lane. It felt like the old Kyle Busch had just changed scenery. But here's where everything starts to twist. The wins slowed, then stopped. Race after race, nothing. The energy that once felt unstoppable started turning into questions. And now, 7 races into 2026. Kyle Busch has hit a number that nobody ever imagined hearing attached to his name. 100 Cup Series races without a win. Let that sink in. A driver who once couldn't stop winning, now stuck in a drought stretching across seasons, teams, and expectations that keep collapsing under their own weight. And it gets worse when you zoom in. No wins in 2024, no wins in 2025, and 2026? Still nothing. The best finish so far barely scratches the top 10 conversation. For a driver like Kyle Busch, that isn't just unusual, it feels almost unrecognizable. But here's the part nobody wants to say too loudly. Is it just the driver? Or is it something deeper inside the team? Because when Busch moved to Richard Childress Racing, the expectation wasn't survival, it was contention. But instead, what's unfolded looks like constant rebuilding, constant adjustment, constant almosts that never turn into results. And now the pressure is fully exposed. One of the greatest streaks in NASCAR history, 19 straight seasons with at least one win, gone. A playoff streak that once felt automatic, broken. And suddenly, for the first time in decades, Kyle Busch is no longer racing history. He's racing uncertainty. And this is where things start to shift even more. Because inside the garage, people aren't just talking about results anymore. They're talking about contracts, future seats, next moves. What comes after this? Kyle Busch is in the final stretch of his Richard Childress Racing deal. He turns 41 soon. And while age isn't the headline, performance always is. Here's the thing. RCR has made changes. New technical leadership, new engineering direction, even optimism from management. But the stopwatch doesn't care about restructuring speeches. It only shows results. And right now, the results are brutal. But then comes the twist in this entire situation. Because if there is one place that still feels like it could change everything, it's Bristol. 8 Cup wins there. A track where Kyle Busch doesn't just race, he dominates. A place where chaos usually turns into opportunity. And if there is even a small spark left in this story, it might show up there first. But what happens if it doesn't? Now the conversation gets uncomfortable. 5 possible futures are floating around the garage right now, and none of them feel simple. First, staying at RCR. On paper, the most stable option. In reality, the most questioned. Because loyalty doesn't matter when the scoreboard stays empty for 100 races. Second, Spire Motorsports. And this is where things get interesting. A team growing fast, reshaping its identity, already connected to Busch through Truck Series programs. There's chemistry here, there's history, and maybe there's opportunity. Some inside the garage quietly think this is the most logical landing spot if things break apart. But it doesn't stop there. Hendrick Motorsports gets whispered too. A return to where it all started, a full circle moment. Unlikely? Yes. Impossible? Not entirely, especially when performance gaps open doors nobody expected. Then there's Legacy Motor Club, Toyota, history, familiar ground, and two legends steering the ship in the background. It sounds like a storyline written for drama, but NASCAR has seen stranger things happen when timing aligns. And finally, the option nobody wants to say out loud. What if this isn't about moving teams at all? What if it's about stepping away from Cup Series pressure entirely? A shift to trucks, a reset, a different kind of chase, still racing, but no longer carrying the weight of an entire Cup legacy every single weekend. But here's where it all comes back to reality. Kyle Busch doesn't race like someone looking to slow down. Even now, even with everything happening, the fire hasn't disappeared. The frustration is visible, yes, but so is the refusal to let the story end like this. And that's what makes this so tense. Because this isn't just about 100 winless races. It's about identity. It's about legacy. It's about whether one of the greatest drivers NASCAR has ever seen still has one more defining chapter left, or whether the sport is slowly moving on without waiting for the ending. And now everything points to one place again, Bristol. If he wins there, everything changes. The narrative resets instantly, the pressure lifts, the questions quiet down, but if he doesn't, then the questions become louder than ever. And maybe that's the real story here. Not just where Kyle Busch goes next, but whether NASCAR is witnessing the final stretch of a legend's prime without even realizing it yet. So now I'll ask you this. Is this just a rough chapter in a legendary career? Or are we watching the moment the entire direction of Kyle Busch's Cup Series future starts to break apart in real time? Because whatever happens next, it's not just another race weekend anymore. And if you're still watching this unfold, you already know something big is coming. Let me know what you think, because this debate is only getting hotter. And if you want the real story as it develops, you already know what to do.